Namaskar dosto, welcome to channel Toxicology Online. Today in this video we'll be discussing another DABT topic, that is European Union risk assessment and committees and agencies. In the channel we have uploaded with respect to US. What are the different US agencies with respect to air, food, water, soil. So similarly with respect to European region, we'll be discussing in this particular video. No questions will be discussed. We'll only briefly go through the agencies with respect to European region, that is 40 plus countries which are there under European Union, and under which air, water, food, soil, this kind of cosmetics, medical devices. What are the agencies which will take care of this particular? We will be reading in this particular video. Okay, so the first agency, I have, for your quick remembrance, no, I have made a flow chart. In this, you will be seeing that we'll be discussing each and every agency. For example, SCCS is there, which takes care of the consumer safety. Then we have SHEER, which takes cares about health and environmental risk. Then we have SCENIHR, which will take care of any kind of emerging newly identified health risk is there. For example, in the case of COVID, now we have antivirus where it is got infected in the case of one of the cruise ship. Then we have EFSA, which take care of the Food Safety Authority. Then we have EMA, which will take care of the pharmaceuticals as well as veterinary drugs. Then we have ECDC, which take care of the disease prevention and control, similar to like that of the US CDC, WHO. And we have EEA that takes care of the European Environmental Agency. Then we have SCOEL, which takes care of the worker safety. The workers who are working in the factory, for them they will derive this occupational exposure limit. Okay, and then we have last one we'll discuss about ECHA. ECHA is something which is related to European Chemical Agency, which will take care of the amount of chemical, the volume of production of the chemicals which are there in the European regions, where based on the tonnage, how much volume of tonnage is there, whether it is from 1 ton to 100 ton, more than 100 ton or 1000 ton. Three different categories will be there: low, intermediate, and higher. And based on which registration dossiers will be given in this, uploaded in this particular website, that is ECHA website. So I will show you about the ECHA website also. Currently, ECHA website is not working, probably because of the ongoing Iran war, you can say, because of which I think some of the agencies are not working. So, but still we'll try to read about, because a lot of information can be pulled out from this ECHA database. Okay, so let's see. There are a number of independent but often closely cooperating scientific committees and agencies in the case of European Union. Okay, so here these are the different countries which will become 40 plus countries are there which will part of this European Union, that are involved in human health and environmental risk assessment. One of the major functions of these bodies is to provide advice on the risk assessment issues, whether it is chemicals, pharmaceuticals, food, technologies, medical devices. Okay, European Union decision makers will be there. Based on this risk assessment, they will identify whether certain chemical or certain incident is having any cause for concern to be used for preparing policy and proposals relating to the consumer safety, public health, and environment. See, the reason is that, for example, if you remember thalidomide disaster, which took place initially in the European countries. Later on, when the drug was about to come into America, then our one of the FDA inspector, that is Francis Kelsey, has opposed without enough reproductive toxicology studies. I will not allow this particular thalidomide drug in the US market. So her decision was there from the FDA inspector, that is Francis Kelsey. But if you see in the case of European region, it took place. Okay, lot of infants, babies were formed, were given birth. The pregnant women who were consuming this thalidomide drug, the babies which were born from the mothers who were consuming this thalidomide drug, they showed phocomelia, deformed limbs. Okay, and today also we can see those individuals having short limbs, short hands, short legs. Okay, so these are the triggering point for the European policy makers, decision makers, that yes, there should be some regulatory decisions or based on which we need to come up with certain policies. Okay, another important thing that you have to remember with respect to TCDD, that is dioxin gas, which was released in COSA. So this is also, you have to remember, COSA disaster. That also Agent Orange, which was used by US in the post World War II in the Vietnam War. So these agents are also causing reproductive toxicity, and it is two generation, three generation. Now also babies, the soldiers who are worked, who have been exposed during the Vietnam War, their wives who got pregnant, their children also still suffering from the deformities, reproductive deformities. So these are the things, these are the historical incidents which triggered that yes, there should be some policies that need to be implemented. So selected European Union risk assessment committees and agencies are briefly introduced below. So each and every agency will discuss in each slide. So first one is SCCS. So this will be one document. Now it is 12th revision, and this revision is taking place in 2023 document. So this particular SCCS guideline, majorly it is important for personal care and household products like hand wash, toothpaste or cosmetics. All these things will be addressed under this SCCS, and majorly you will be calculating exposure as well as margin of safety. There are different formulas in order to identify how to calculate the safety levels. If there is a, for example, toothpaste is there, hand wash is there, a shampoo is there, in which each and every component chemical will be there, how it is going to affect your scalp, how it is going to affect your teeth. So all these things also will be, or the toys, the children or infants who are playing with the toys, the material which the toys are made, that has to be also safeguarded. So all those things will come under this bigger umbrella, this agency, that is SCCS. So we'll briefly read one or two sentences with respect to SCCS. SCCS is Scientific Committee on Consumer Safety, provides opinion on health and safety risk, that is chemical, biological, mechanical and other physical risk, non-food consumer products. Food will come under EFSA. Okay, so non-consumer food products are cosmetic products, as I told, ingredient, toys, textiles, the clothes which you are wearing. If the through the cloth, if the cloths which are made of some kind of chemical and the dyeing or surf or the cleaning agent which you are using, if retains in the cloth and slowly on a daily basis, if that is getting exposed through your skin, your body will start showing some physical local reactions. So textiles, clothing, personal care and household products will all come under this SCCS, as well as services like tattooing, artificial sun tanning. So sun tanning creams also will come under, controlled under SCCS guideline. So I would request you, this is the website, you can go and check, and you can search, give your whatever terms whatever you want to give in the search box, you can give, so you can explore this particular database. Here you can see membership, mandates, opinions, statements, like risk assessment reports also for each and every chemical SCCS will be giving, which will have cause for concern. So second, we will discuss about second regulatory agency from the European country, that is SCHER. What is this SCHER? Is Scientific Committee on Health and Environmental Risk. So here we will be discussing, so what will come under this particular agency is health and environmental risk. It will provide opinion on health and environmental risk related to the pollutants. Pollutant means whatever the sulfur dioxide, nitric oxide, carbon monoxide, whatever the pollutants that you come across in the environment, in the environmental media. Media means it can be soil, water, okay, air and other biological and physical factors or changing physical conditions which may have a negative impact on the health and the environment. It should have negative impact on the person also, as well as on the environment also, in relation to air quality, water, waste and soil, as well as health and safety issues related to the toxicity and ecotoxicological, toxicity of the biocides. Similarly, in the America, you have CERCLA, you have Superfund, you have SWDA, Safe Water Drinking Act, Air Quality Protection Act. These are all the things with respect to America. When it comes to Europe, SHER, that is Scientific Committee on Health Environmental Risk, is going to take care of this kind of risk assessment, and they are going to issue risk assessment reports. Here you can see risk assessment for 2024. So list of the chemicals they have given, here you can see the example, emission of light duty vehicles. So whatever the emissions which are emitted by these vehicles, that particular gases they have listed, and they have done the risk assessment. Similarly, you can go back and explore this database. Here you can see opinions and statements, opinions in the plain language. So this is the thing about the second regulatory agency. Now we'll discuss about the third regulatory agency, that is SCENIHR. SCENIHR is Scientific Committee on Emerging and Newly Identified Health Risk. So, for example, now we have antivirus, the one which we have seen recent trending in the news about the antivirus, which is they have identified in the case of cruise ship. So they have isolated the ship, they have isolated the individuals who are affected with this particular virus. So similarly in 2019-20 we had COVID. So that was also a new emerging type of a risk which was not present previously for the either for the scientists or the doctors to mitigate the risk. So those type of newly emerging risk will be there, no, that will be addressed by this particular SCE NIHR. It provides opinion on emerging or newly identified health and environmental risk and on board complex or multidisciplinary in issues. It is not just related to one issue. Okay, so what comes under this one? Medical devices, tissue engineering, nanotechnology, blood products, methodologies for assessing risk, requiring a comprehensive assessment of the risk to consumer safety, public health, and related issues not covered by other community risk assessment bodies. So, whatever the things which are not covered by the other agencies, this miscellaneous will be all be addressed by this SCA NIHR. So, medical devices we have medical device regulation, that is EU MDR. And if you come to medical devices, no, you have different classes are there. Basically, if you go bigger, broader way, you will say class 1, class 2, and class 3. Here we are discussing class 1, class 2A, class 2B, as well as class 3. Class 1 is having low risk, in which you have stethoscope. The doctors, physicians which are using stethoscope, wheelchair, plaster, the bandage which you are using, no, those are also a type of medical device, but they comes under class 1 and they are having low cause for concern. See, you get a wound, you apply band-aid, that is also a medical device, but there is no much toxicity. Once you heal, you can remove that particular bandage. So but when it comes to class 3 examples, we have pacemaker. Somebody who is having heart issue, they have irregular heart rhythm, then a doctor places a pacemaker into this particular heart. So this pacemaker will decide. So this pacemaker, the material with which it is made, no pacemaker, it is coming in direct contact with your biological fluid, that is blood, and it is there in your body regularly for a couple of years. So because of which there might be some toxicity. If the pacemaker is made up of certain metal or plastic and if it start leaching into your blood, then it will cause some toxicity. So you need to do some kind of toxicology. So this type of examples like pacemakers are having highest level of toxicity. Similarly, you have breast implants. Those people who keep those women who go for breast implant surgery because they have silicone into that breast implants. Then you have drug coated stents. So those people who are having atherosclerosis where the heart blocks you can see, so you will send in a stent during the surgery. Your physician will send a stent. So if the stent which is made up of that metal, that itself should not cause any toxicity. Similarly, we have artificial valves, aneurysm clips are there. So these are all having part of medical devices which are having higher toxicity. So all these things will be controlled under by this SCE NHAR in the case of European countries. Next, we are discussing about the fourth regulatory agency, that is EFSA. EFSA is also very, very important because lot of publications on EFSA, you can get it in the PubMed. They do a proper risk assessment of the chemicals. They will give you acceptable daily intakes also. So for the risk assessment, toxicologists know EFSA database, EFSA articles are very, very important. So very quickly we'll go through what exactly role of this EFSA is. EFSA is European Food Safety Authority. It will provide the risk assessment on what food and feed safety. Not only the food which humans are consuming, also the feed, cattle, poultry, that is like buffaloes, pigs, all the veterinary animals will also be there. Those feed will also be assessed by the EFSA. That's why they will give you microbiological ADI. EFSA ke under you will also have veterinary risk assessment documents you will be having. Second one is nutrition. So whatever the vitamins, hormones, minerals are also there, that also been regulated by the EFSA. Third one is animal health and welfare. If you are using certain animals for your biological experiments or preclinical experiments, and those who are having pet animals also, those animal health care and welfare is also taken care by this EFSA. For fourth one is plant production. If there are genetically modified crops, see, you have to understand the way our population is exploding. We do not have enough agricultural derived food to meet the requirement of the expanding population. So for this reason, you have to use pesticides, you have to use genetically modified crop, fast fertilizing seeds. So all these things, but in the process of doing these experiments, no, the food itself should not cause any toxicity. So plant protection is also comes under this EFSA. Genetically modified crops, all these things also comes under EFSA. Next we have plant health, that is plant protection as well as plant health also. So if a plant is there, if itself is having a disease and that plant we are consuming, then that is also will cause. So those things are also taken care of by the EFSA. EFSA also performs environmental risk assessment. This is also very very important. Nowadays, no, lot of European inspectors, they are coming and they're asking for ecological risk assessment, that is PEC PNEC ratio, RQ, that is risk coefficient ratio, hazard coefficient. This type of information they're asking, risk assessment reports they're asking. So these are very important. ERA reports are important. So that comes and as I discussed now, genetically modified crops, pesticide, feed additives, and plant pests. So all these things are comes under EFSA. So if for EFSA, I would request you to go and check this website, explore this website. In this they have given different type of for example, in this particular thing we have seen, we are seeing that EFSA finds sucralose. Sucralose is what? It's an artificial sugar. Those people, if you want to enhance the instead of sugar a replacement, that is sucralose, it will find sucralose safe when used as currently authorized, cannot confirm the safety of its extended its use. When it comes to artificial sweeteners, no, you have to remember about I think sucralose or some other artificial sweetener is there which is causing bladder cancer in the case of a female. Okay, so remember one question, not female, in the case of female rats actually. So one question with respect to that you will be coming in exam, so read about that one also. Urinary bladder cancer, something bladder cancer is there. So there are a lot of reports are there. Is there any still association or casualty has been explained? I am not I cannot say without reference. So I would request you, it's a topic of concern discussion, so please go back and read about that one association. Next, we'll discuss about fifth regulatory agency, that is EMA. So EMA will have safety assessment reports will be there. In that, a detailed of both clinical toxicology, physicochemical properties, clinical trials, preclinical trials. In that, you will be also coming across some physicochemical properties, that drug history, its patency, uh, its molecular form, all those things also you will be coming across. So EMA has one of its main responsibilities, that is scientific evaluation of medicines. Medicines means I am talking about pharmaceuticals, both in human as well as in animals, that is human and veterinary, proposed for use in European Union. So once you explore this particular website, no, EMA website, you will come across this European Public Assessment Reports, background and context. You give the pharmaceutical name, drug name, you will get an assessment report. Okay, so very important for the risk assessment toxicologists, those who are working in pharmaceutical companies. For them, this particular website, EMA website, or EMA related risk assessment documents, opinion, or a pharmacological reference SAE reports will be there. So these are all very important. Similarly, how in US FDA website is important, EMA website is important with respect to European countries. Then next we have sixth agency, that is ECDC. ECDC is European Center for Disease Prevention and Control. So you might be already aware about CDC, that is Center for Disease Control by the US, that is association with the WHO. Okay. So main purpose, similarly in Europe we have ECDC, and main responsibility is to identify, to assess and communicate current and emerging threats to human health posted by infectious disease. So earlier we have seen other type of diseases. These are something more like malaria or tuberculosis, the ones which are caused by the insects, no, infectious disease. So those will be because in such cases prevention is better than cure. So for that reason only they have a separate agency which will take care of this disease prevention control. Okay, so I will request you to go back and explore the website. Different risk assessment reports will also be uploaded in this particular website. Now we'll see seventh agency, that is European Environmental Agency, EAE, something we have discussed about ecological risk assessment. No, its a primary objective it is to produce European and regional environmental data sets. Data sets means single dose toxicity, repeat dose toxicity, reproductive toxicity, carcinogenicity, toxicity, hypersensitivity, like that. Different data sets will be there. Environmental information and risk assessment in order to provide a sound decision basis environmental policies in the European Union. So, for example, here in the screenshot you can see air quality in the European Union is improving, but just over 1,80,000 people are still attributable to this particular air pollution. Okay, so you have this European Union risk assessment reports will be there. For example, in this example, we have 1,4-dichloro benzene. This report is there. So it will consist of some hundreds of pages document will be there. You have different volume. Here it is given volume 48. In this, all the data they will consider and they will derive some HBEL values in order to safeguard the particular exposure. So next we are discussing eighth agency, that is SCOEL. So SCOEL is very very important. Those workers who are working in either factories, pharmaceutical factories, or any other chemical factory on a daily basis, if they keep going to the factory and exposed to these chemicals, they will be getting some kind of toxicity or adverse reactions. So in order to safeguard those workers health, their quality, what you will do, you will establish some safety limits, because you cannot avoid exposure to the chemicals. What you can do is you can minimize the exposure. How? By putting an apron, or by putting a that is personal protective equipment, or like exposure time. That's why all the factory workers know they work only in 8 hours. If immediately after 8 hour shift, that particular lot of workers need to be batch of workers need to be replaced by the new workers, because more than 8 hours of exposure to that particular chemical is definitely going to cause some hazardous or adverse reaction. So that is the rule as per Factories Act, if you see. So when you commit to occupational exposure limit also, we have this 8 hours per day or 40 hours in a week. Beyond that, you should not work. It is not permissible by the government. Okay, so we will see what we will be seeing in the case of SCOEL. So Scientific Committee on Occupational Exposure Limit has the responsibility to advise the European Commission, that is EC. One is EC, one is EU, European Union. Okay, on occupational exposure limits for chemicals found in the workplace. Okay, as I told you, know, specifically the committee prepares toxicological and scientific evaluation of chemicals for their effects on health of the workers, and then give advice on setting occupational exposure limit based on these evaluations. So we have different types of exposure limits are there. OELs that may be proposed based on available relevant health hazard table. In the health hazard table, no, you have four different things. One is highly sensitization, reproductive hazard, whether that chemical is going to cause reproductive toxicity, genotoxic hazard, and I think developmental toxicity will be there. Four will be there: mutagenicity risk, hypersensitization risk, like that. So we have include 8 hour time weighted average. As I told you, no more than 8 hours in a day a worker should not work. Once the shift is completed, he has to be exit from that particular work environment of that particular work area. Second one is short exposure limit. There are certain chemicals which are highly dangerous. So for example, some nitric oxide is there, sulfur dioxide or cyanide is there. You are going and working with that particular hazardous chemical. Then the exposure limit should not be extended even up to 8 hours. It should be short term exposure limit. You finish the reaction, you finish your work and exit particular that work area, environment or safety cabinet. Next one is biological limit values. Biological limit values are something, for example, somebody is preparing vaccines or somebody is preparing hormones. So in order to prepare that vaccine also, he has to work with the virus, and the virus itself is having some toxicity. If that particular scientist is keep on getting exposed to that virus, then it is not safe for him. So for that reason also we will be calculating biological limit values based on the nature of the chemical. Different values will be there. So I would request you to go and check this particular database, that is Scientific Committee on Occupational Exposure Limit, and you will also come across the list. Here you can see EC, that is European Commission, has given the list. They have given the CAS number as per US, and year of adoption, on which year they have ended up with giving this SCOEL values, or this occupational exposure limit. And for calculating this occupational exposure limit, see, HBELs are part of your ABT brochure. They are there in the exam. They will ask you one questions with respect to health based exposure limit. What are the calculations they will ask you? So here in the case of occupational exposure limit, if you have a remembrance of permitted daily exposure also, similarly here also you will be considering point of departure into body weight, uncertainty factor. Here uncertainty factors might be UF1, 2 and 3. TK correction factor will be there, modifying factor, and V. V is amount of respiratory volume, how much volume of air that you breathe in that 8 hours in that particular factory environment, that will be considered as the volume of breathing during work shift. Okay, so we'll discuss about one case study with respect to occupational exposure exposure in another video. Now not last one, we'll be discussing ECHA, another agency, that is European Chemical Agency. overall responsibility of this ECHA is technical, scientific, and administrative management of the European REACH. So what is REACH is registration, evaluation, authorization, restriction of chemicals. Simple in layman term, I will say, in the European country, if you want, for example, I want to work with benzene with in European country. So if the European country is manufacturing so and so 100 tons or 1000 tons, so based on the tonnage of the data, you need to submit to the government agency this much uh, this much information data set you need to submit, then only the government will give you permission to work with that chemical in that particular country. So in that data set, no, here you can see you have to give ecological information, you have to give biopersistent that is bioaccumulative, those data you have to also give, you have to also give toxicology data also, then only government will give, because you are working with that chemical in that country. And if there is a spillage, if there is an accident, or after your manufacturing, if you just discard the chemical in the surrounding area, then that will cause toxicity in that particular area, lake or soil, water. So they want to have a safeguard, they want to have a authority over that particular chemical production. So that also comes under product stewardship, right from the manufacturer to last consumer who is using. So there should not be any wastage of or wastage disposal of this highly hazardous chemicals into the environment. To safeguard that, when ECHA will be taking care of this one. So they have a very beautiful database is there. So I would request you to go back and explore this database. If you give the chemical name or CAS number, it will definitely give you the data. And also important thing is that they will also keep publishing this JRC, that is Joint Risk Assessment Committee risk assessment reports with respect to each chemical and CAS number they will be uploading. So these were the some of the important chemical regulatory agencies with respect to Europe. See, one is the exam is conducted by the America. So they will ask you about air quality like CERCLA, Superfund, FQPA, WHO, all the agencies with respect to America, they will definitely ask. In addition to that, they also have European also, because being a part of ICH, no, tripartite, three countries are there. One is Europe, one is America, and third one is Japan. So these three countries together they came and they established this ICH guidelines. This ICH guidelines globally it is used by other countries, including India also. So they will be asking some questions with respect to European agencies also. Okay, so hope you it is it's a very laborious way to remember, because too many agencies are there. But once you start exploring these databases, those people who are working on the risk assessment toxicology, already they are aware of these databases. So from exam point of view also, you try to remember so that you will not miss any question if any question comes on the similar topic. Thank you so much. Be curious. For any questions, you can always write a mail to arya.priyanka18@gmail.com. All the best for your exam.